Bueno, lo primero de todo, ¿cómo están los máquinas? ¿Estáis bien? ¿Qué pasa, gente? Os echaba de menos. Una semanita más, otra semanita con los directos. Y bueno, es que venimos calentitos. Bueno, gente, lo primero que tengo que decir es que estoy preparando un cursazo. Un cursazo. Bueno, ya he dicho yo que este iba a ser el último que yo iba a dar de forma gratuita, pero os garantizo que con el curso, los cursos que ya tenéis en canal de YouTube, más este, lo vais a flipar, pero especialmente este, lo vais a flipar. Yo creo que ya he alcanzado el nivel ultra instinto de Son Goku, pues os voy a enseñar mi nivel ultra instinto de Son Goku y vais a alcanzar el mismo nivel, la verdad sea dicho. Bueno, no digo más, voy a empezar esta semana ya a programar los directos porque quedan ya prácticamente 200 suscriptores para el canal, así que gente, venga, vamos, compartir el canal, esos 200, ya, suscribirse, pasarlo a los colegas en canales, que se avecina un cursazo y además un libro de trading institucional y smart money brutal. Bueno, gente, os aseguro que lo estoy dando todo en este curso, mismo formato que vamos a hacer que hicimos hace más de 2 años ya, con el curso de trading institucional, todos los domingos en directo y además con los PDFs y el libro que ya tengo terminadito, pero bueno, voy retocando a medida que pasan las semanas. Bueno, gente, no me enrollo más. Vamos a ver nuevos vídeos ¿de quién? ¿De quién vamos a verlos? Pues del inimitable, el auténtico, el dios del trading, Michael Hudson, de Inner Cycle Trading, no sé si lo digo bien, Michael Hudson, unos dicen que es Hudson o es Huddleston. Yo le digo Huddleston, pero me parece que es Hudson, ¿no? Ya lo veremos. Bueno, gente, ¿qué pasa? Dice Tiburón, saludos desde Colombia. Besitos, Marcojar 83, Ragazza 9725, el más papi. Bueno, gente, no me enrollo más. Vamos a verlo. Bueno, tengo que decir, atención, tengo que decir 2 cosas. Lo primero, de Inner Circle Trader, y es que ha sacado 2 vídeos nuevos que he esperado hoy para verlos, son estos 2, los últimos que ha sacado, Forex and Spooks Market Review, un vídeo de 26 minutos, y el último, atención, ¿vale? Atención, este no lo vamos a poder ver entero, porque es 1 hora y 25 minutos, pertenece a la mentoría de 2023, y se llama Immediate Rebalance and Institutional Order Flow. Yo creo que vamos a empezar por este. Vamos a verlo allí hasta donde nos lo permita nuestro sueño, porque a estas horas son las 8 de la tarde en España, y tengo que decir que a estas horas, como te chupes un vídeo de Michael, yo creo que a los 20-25 minutos máximo medio chat está dormido, ¿vale? Pero vale la pena. Bueno, ¿qué me dicen por aquí? Ole, Paul, antes eran modelos, esas fotos de Telegram, que, amigos, gustan esas fotillos de Telegram, es que yo cuando poso, nada, mucho filtro, el filtro hace milagros, gente. Hace milagros. Bueno, ahora sí, vamos para allá, vamos sin tonterías, vamos allá. Vamos a ver, como veis ya estaba un poquito adelantado, estaba pipeando a ver qué era lo que tenía Michael para mí. Creo que he aprendido una cosa nueva y hay un botón aquí que si le doy a este, automáticamente me hace los subtítulos de español de inglés a español. Es decir, no tengo que ir y buscarlo, ¿vale? Lo acabo de aprender esta tarde. Fijaros las cosas que aprendo. Bueno,
welcome back.
Vamos para allá.
Hope you're all doing well. So here we have the weekly chart of the dollar index.
El dólar index.
And if you've been keeping notes, we've been pretty much calling this.
Bueno, una cosa que acabo de detectar, weekly OB, maravilloso. Cosas
que
yo
hago.
You may
have missed how it's performing as we're outlining each day. So just want to bring that to your attention. Many times people get caught up in the Netflix and chill aspect of ICT plethora of videos, but it's important to take notes.
¿La habéis escuchado? Hostia, Michael está on fire, ¿eh? Dice, muchas veces te quedas viendo Netflix y te olvidas de los vídeos de las TIC. Oye, yo tengo que decir una cosa. Con toda la culturilla woke que hay últimamente en Netflix, la verdad que se me quitan las ganas. El otro día estaba viendo empecé a ver la serie de Fubar. ¿La habéis visto? La de Schwarzenegger, la del Chuache. Hostia, gente, qué decepción, tío. Te os lo juro. Yo esperaba ver, no sé si la habéis visto, al chuache, soltando mamporros a diestro y siniestro. Hostia, tío. Y no, y no. Y me ponen la hija, que es un personaje que, bueno, indiferente, ni fu ni fa. Y te ponen los personajes woke y al chuache lo ponen de, pues casi castrado. El chuache, con lo que ha sido el chuache, tío, que ha sido un Terminator. Y yo esperaba ahí matar a gente, vamos, a cañonazos. Y es que no. En fin, bueno, seguimos. Que me enrollo.
Write down what we're anticipating, what we're looking for. That way you can go into your charts, even if it's just for backtesting purposes. You'll be able to see what it is that you should be gleaning from the lectures and price action. All right, so weekly chart, dollar index. You can see we traded up into more of this up close candle here. Now, initially I took your attention to the opening price, which we hit yesterday. And then I said we would likely see continuation on the upside, further weakness on euro dollar, and we saw that transpire today. So the next level on this up close candle is mean threshold. Mean threshold is the halfway point from high to low. Halfway point is here. That level comes in at 104.540.
La mitad de la vela. No lo sabía.
Okay, so that's your level. You should have that on your chart. If we have continuation on the upside, that's the level I'm looking for. Mentioned how we would use this imbalance from this candle's low, this candle's high. That would act as support and spring price higher. And we've seen that happen here. No wipe off required. All right, daily chart here on dollar index. Again, here's that weekly order block. The opening price is what that was. It's hard to discern what that is once we go into a lower time frame. So if I was just to show you this chart here with no reference on the actual weekly chart, it'd be a little confusing as to why I'm anchored right there when it's just really that I'm anchored on the opening price of, again, let me take you back up so that way you can keep track. That candle right there and the opening price is what this is, okay? So that's that right there. And we hit that yesterday. Then I mentioned we have this imbalance in here, and we also have
esto es la mitigación diaria, es lo que trabajo yo.
Daily order block. This is this level here. Big up close candle right there in this time frame. Now let me go back one more time. See how we identified this up close candle prior to the rotation lower? The same thing now, we're applying that same logic to the daily chart. The last up close candle here with the highest up close right there. That opening price is being annotated. And you can see we hit that today, which was just outside of the scope of this imbalance here. So dollar is a little bit overzealous, and we'll see if it wants to get up to that 104.54 level. I mentioned yesterday the idea of it opening, trading down to a previous day's high, not offering any opportunity for a deferred inefficiency, which is what a fair value gap is. I dubbed it a fair value gap is because the market moves away too quickly and it leaves an inefficiency by means of an imbalance in price. So since the candles are moving higher, the imbalance is buy side. So it's buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency. So it's inefficient in offering down delivery or movement delivered on a downside. So price rotation on a liquidity continuum basis, meaning that the price is efficiently delivered between a range of price action. For instance, if we were to look at the range between 103.20 and 103.40, that's 20 pips for euro. It's moved up, down in that range between 40 and 20 multiple times. Notice that? So if price has been moving back and forth between a defined range of 103.40 and 103.20, if we get a bias determined, which is what I'm sharing my 30 years experience with you, telling you that this is where it's going to go, and then higher still. If we ever get an opening on a candle and it drops down to a previous high. Now, normally, if this would have stopped short, like say the low was up here and didn't go all the way down to Monday's high, that would create a typical deferred inefficiency, meaning that it would go to a fair value gap protocol, something like what we've seen. Well, let me take it back up one more time. This is a fair value gap between this candle's high and this candle's low, and that one candle on the downside. That low, that high, in between those 2 price points, price only went down. So it's a fair value gap, yes, but a specific category is a SIBI, S-I-B-I, sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency. So it needs to see what? To be efficiently balanced upside delivery. And that happens on this candle here. And then we open and we were in this weekly candle. But I mentioned during this weekly candle's formation that we would use this as an inversion fair value gap. So it's typically viewed, if you would just watch a casual viewing of my videos and you would think, okay, well, he says if it goes up here, it's probably going to start going down. No, that's why it's important to understand narrative. That's mentoring. Okay. You only get that from me if you spent time with me, not just a few videos. You cannot assume by watching a few videos or watching anybody else try to do it, and parrot whatever I said incompletely. You can't learn that way. You have to have a length of time through exposure and seeing it over and over and over again. But bringing in narrative, that gives you a bias, that gives you a context, a framework for a trade. Without those steps.
Esto que dice Michael es una verdad como un templo, ¿eh? Que sí que es verdad que te tienes que comer todos sus vídeos, ¿eh? Te los tienes que comer, ¿eh? Por eso el cabrón, y lo llamo cabrón, cuando explica, como que se pone a hablar del perro o de lo que sea, como dice, aquí van a estar los que me aguanten la chapa, pero sí que es verdad que te los tienes que comer enteros porque quizá en un vídeo de 20 minutos, el minuto 16 al 17 te ha dado la clave y tienes que estar pendiente, ¿vale? Te ha dicho toda la clave y empieza a hablar de esto, que tienes que estar pendiente de mí, tal y cual. Le gusta que le hagan casito, ¿eh? A Michael le gusta la atención, eso hay que decirlo, ¿eh? Del comentario de Netflix y que te chupes todos sus vídeos, lo deja claro, ¿eh? Michael, te queremos igual.
In that order, you're not going to find a trade that's high probability. You're going to be lost in the charts and you'll just be frustrated. So let's go back down to the daily chart. I mentioned yesterday, if we see this formation, this is what I dubbed a immediate rebalance. So we opened here, traded down to a previous day's high. It doesn't mean it's the previous day immediately to the left or yesterday's high. We're always referring to the essence of inefficiency and redelivery. Fair value gaps highlight those inefficiencies and opportunity for redelivery. So, for instance, like take a look at this candle here. We have this candle's high, this candle's low, so there's a fair value gap. It trades down, but it doesn't go all the way back down to that high. Notice that? That's fine. That right there, to me, is a breakaway gap. I'll talk a little bit more about breakaway gaps in this lecture. This candle opening, it trades down and goes right to this candle's high, which is Monday's high. So it gives no room or opportunity for an inefficiency to exist. Why? Why would that happen? If we're bullish and markets are expected to go higher and it does this type of formation, you'll want to write this in your journal. This is one of the most powerful signatures for immediate dynamic price delivery. I said this to you yesterday, and if you've watched any of my older videos, and if you've been with me for a long time as a student, you've heard me refer to an immediate rebalance, and that is one of the strongest algorithmic price delivery signatures you're going to see. Look at the price delivery here on dollar. Look how fast and snappy that was. Notice that?
Vale. ¿Y el secreto,
go back
tío?
2 days ago, and I was stating that I expected to go up to this level here on Tuesday's analysis. And then Wednesday's delivery and price, it went right to it and closed right there. But on Tuesday, I was mentioning that I'm not certain it's going to go above this fair value gap. So that gave you context. It's going to go to that level and then stop, not give anything more. The fact that we opened, traded down, and then rallied to that point, and we did our review last night, that gave me the context to tell you we're going to continue higher on dollar and lower on euro dollar. So it's still a risk-off scenario, meaning dollar goes higher. Typically, that's a risk-off scenario. All foreign currencies should decline more in sympathy to a higher dollar. The fact that we had this immediate rebalance and we're bullish and we're looking for higher prices, that allows for us to see directional bias being bullish. So we can be a buyer of dollar and a short seller of foreign currency. All right, so here is the euro dollar. This is our weekly chart here. You can see we've expanded a little bit further.
Ha cambiado el euro dólar.
And that weekly order block, the opening price is what I have here. And I still think that that is a likely draw, or where I think price may draw down to. And everything was reversed in the analysis last night. As we mentioned on the dollar index, we had an immediate rebalance, which is bullish for dollar. We had that same development here on euro dollar. We opened yesterday, traded up to Monday's low, and then acceleration to the downside. I took your attention to right there. I said, see those two relative equal lows? That's sell side resting right below that. Watch that. I believe it's going to draw down to that. And lo and behold, look at that. Look how cherry picked and lucky that was. Traded right down into it and pulled off that low. So the relative equal lows, the sell side liquidity here was tapped into. This inefficiency, this is a fair value gap between this candle's low, this candle's high. So this one candle between these two reference points here has only offered what? buy side because it's moved up. To efficiently reprice and balance this inefficiency, price needs to trade down to it, through it, or go back up. It has to leave this area once it offers a down candle passing through that same range that's shaded in orange. Okay, the blue line is that weekly order block, the opening price. So I'm expecting, let's say it that way, I'm expecting the continuation or likely continuation down into this area here. Because it's a holiday weekend, it might not deliver it tomorrow, and it may need to do so next week. But I'm sticking with the bias that higher dollar, weaker euro dollar. So here's that line here from those two daily candles that I mentioned was a relative equal low, and where sell side liquidity, I mean sell stops were resting below that. You can see we did in fact dip down into that. Now last night when we were talking, the chart looked like right there, that was the last candlestick at the time of me creating PowerPoint slides. And
bienvenido al canal de Trading Forex TV Directos, en donde vemos estrategias y analizamos y reaccionamos a otros canales. Si todavía no estás suscrito, suscríbete y activa la campanita para que te lleguen todas las notificaciones. Muchas gracias.
During our discussion, I mentioned that there was sell side resting below here, and we would look to see if it draws down into those relative equal lows and that shaded area, which is the fair value gap, and the order block from the weekly chart there, that blue line. Okay, so we're essentially looking for that 107 big figure thereabouts. Okay. If we were not to get that at all, and say it reversed, say the dollar topped out here and the euro went lower, would this be a failure on analysis? No, because it offered opportunity to see a run from where we were last night. I said we would go lower, but it would likely go higher first for a short-term premium and then drop, go down. Listen to the recordings. Every single time I do a video, you want to write down what my expectations are. What am I expecting? What am I looking for? What would I see as a potential scenario? Okay. I will sometimes tell you. Sometimes, if I'm unsure, if I'm unclear, I'll be honest, I'll tell you, I'm not certain, I need more information, but then I'll say gun to my head. So if I ever say gun to my head, I'm just telling you what I think based on what price is showing me in the chart. Unless I'm saying that and I'm telling you what I suspect is going to happen, that is my hard and fast expectation. That's what I really sit down in front of the charts and I believe based on the words I'm sharing with you. It does not mean you should go out there and bet the farm on it. Okay, you're learning how to read price action. That's why you're here, and you're going to see consistency. You've seen it all week so far, and it's really a crappy week. So take away from it what you can, glean the information and understanding while spending time with me, but also paying attention to what we're anticipating in terms of direction, where it's reaching for, because that's the first skill set. That's the first thing that you need to set your mind to as a student with me.
Ah, ya está empezando a desvariar este hombre, ¿eh? Está empezando a desvariar. Michael, dale caña, te voy a avanzar un poquito, ¿eh? A ver si le das un poco de acción. Venga,
And
va, que
even
estás
if you are
mayor.
a profitable trader doing something else, if I can help you develop that skill, your trading will improve drastically. It will increase every visibility, skill set that you have in terms of reading price action beyond any expectation you may have ever held.
Vale, venga, va.
So here's a 15-minute time frame on euro dollar, and here's the imbalance in here. And I mentioned that we would try to draw up into a short-term premium. We went right up into that inefficiency one more time, broke lower, and just worked into that eventual relative equal low from the daily chart. Dug into it twice here, and then we consolidated into the close. All right, so now we're going to look at the 5-minute chart here, and I've rung in this candle here, which is the midnight in New York, the opening price. You want to extend that through price action until around 11 o'clock in the morning. If we're bearish, anytime price returns back to that opening price, and we have not met our objective. What was our objective last night? Well, the first thing was those relative equal lows, and then that fair value gap that's outside the range that I'm showing on this chart, which is essentially around that 1.0705 level to 1.07 big figure. At this time here, we ran up during the London session, running out these relative equal highs. See that? We ran above it, took out buy stops. Why would that be advantageous? Because smart money will take those buy stops and short against it. They will use the buy stops being ran here as counterparty to their shorts. The market drops lower and falls just short of those relative equal lows, which is that line here, okay, at 1.0713 and 2 pips. Leaves a fair value gap here and a bearish order block. The market trades back up just before 5 a.m., drops back down, hits an order block, down close candle, rallies once more, takes out the short-term high here, falls just short of hitting that order block. It trades right into that gap right there between this candle's high and that candle's low. Trades right into it. Then drops one more time. Where's it dropping to? Just below the short-term relative equal lows here. And then where's it go then? During the 7 o'clock session. New York time, it rallies all the way back up for a third time after London lunch. And then during the 8:30 window where the news driver comes out, the news embargo lifts at 8:30, and then we went one more time, hit the order block, run the buy stop, and trade one more time above the New York opening price. For my concept of Power 3, I teach that the midnight opening price, if we're bullish, best buys or the optimal entries for going long is below this opening price at midnight. If I'm bearish, and you knew I was bearish on Euro yesterday in the last few days.
Bueno, de hecho, esto que acaba de decir del tema del Midnight, Open Midnight, joder, macho, vaya English Pit English que tengo. Esto forma parte también del DR y DR y todo esto que vimos anteriormente. De hecho, hoy lo estaba comentando con uno de los alumnos y el módulo de precio y tiempo, yo no lo conocía, el tema del DR y DR y tal, pero dentro del módulo de precio y tiempo precisamente abordo en varias clases el tema del Open diario y cómo se trabaja. Y cómo se trabaja el Daily Range a partir del ADR y del Open diario. Yo combino con el ADR para detectar el CBDR. Anécdota. Yo no conocía esto de Michael cuando yo lancé y desarrollé ese tema.
The best shorts are going to occur at or above the midnight opening price in New York time. So you need to have your chart set on TradingView to set to New York local time. And right now, because we're under daylight savings time, it will be UTC -4. That candle right there.
Hay un detalle con el tema del
opening price
diario. Hay un detalle.
We are in power 3. We're hitting the order block.
Y la liquidez entre sesiones.
And we're trading above the New York midnight opening price, while the sell side below those relative equal lows on the daily chart that we mentioned last night as an objective, where Euro would drawing down to, in other words, it gravitates to it like a magnet. So below this line here is sell stops. Not your sell stop, because you can't probably hold a trade longer than a day because you get nervous. But long-term hedge funds have orders resting below those relative equal lows. So the market, when it went above that opening price at midnight, that offers the opportunity for smart money to sell short there, conveniently allowing the short-term buy stops that the market saw get tripped. This run up here stopped out anyone that was short running there, and then anyone short on this move gets stopped out there. So they've engineered liquidity, buy stops here, so that allowed them to use that midnight opening price. So the algorithm runs up there, allowing smart money to go short. Then their target's going to be what I told you last night, the relative equal lows on the daily chart. That's that 1.07132 level. And where does it drop? Just short of this one. Rallies one more time, back up into the inefficiency, which is a SIBI.
Breaks hard. La acabo de ver ahora. New York Midnight Open Price, Power of 3. Joder, macho. Si os digo que queréis fliparlo. Uno de los temas que estoy aquí yo preparando para el tema del curso. Precios de apertura de Power of Free and Bias, SMC. Pero es que esto fue cosa mía. Yo no sabía esto de Michael, no había visto lo del IDR, pero hay mentorías que no las había visto. Pero es curioso, ¿eh? Es casualidad me hace ilusión, me hace desarrollar algo que luego veo y digo, coño, si es lo mío, ¿no?
Into that pool of liquidity resting below those daily relative equal lows. If you are a new viewer, I promise you this probably seems very complicated. It sounds probably too far and lofty for your understanding right now. I promise you if you keep watching the videos, you'll learn it. But you can't learn institutional order flow by just watching a few videos, okay? You have to look at things and see it from the eyes of someone who's seen it and experienced it and done it for a longer time than you. And since I author these concepts, it's imperative that you take notes and look at these things in past price data. Don't take my word for something. Obviously, you can hear me say what I'm expecting in future price moves and you're seeing it happen. But don't limit your study to just whatever I think is going to happen next. Take your time between our sessions, go back through old moves in price action and study and look at the things I'm teaching. Does it materialize in your study? And you'll find that it does. These two up close candles here, that's your order block. It's a bearish order block, trades up into that, and then works lower once more, shift in market structure. So this right here is a model 2022, buy side, swept, low, taken. Is there a fair value gap in here? Right there. Trades up into it. You can get short there and aim for one more pass into that sell side liquidity pool and those relative equal lows. And it digs into it there. Then bounces off that and we consolidate into the close of the day. All right, here's a 1 minute chart, and we're dialed in on that actual run into the sell side. These are that relative equal lows on the daily chart. That level right there. And we're viewing euro dollar from the perspective of a 1 minute chart. You can see that up here. Here's our sell off here.
Esta es buenísima, ¿eh? Esta es buenísima. ¿La habéis analizado un momento, esta operación? Qué buena es. Qué buena es. Tiene dos sell sides y un buy side del día anterior. Toma liquidez, imbalance brutal, 50% de la ineficiencia buscando el buy side. Qué buena, ¿eh? Así vista así es brutal. Muy buena, Michael.
breaks lower, relative equal highs, relative equal lows. You see that? So we're creating this little trading range with the biases being what? At that time, all during this consolidation, we're anticipating, as I mentioned last night, we're wanting to see Eurodollar trade down in that sell side liquidity. I mean, sell stops resting below 1.0713. It drops aggressively down into that, right in here, then whips right back above it. Trades one more time back below it, but only to consequent encroachment, which is the midpoint of this gap from this candle's high to that candle's low. Measured on your own. The Fibonacci is that level right there, and it hits it. And then we come back to life, rallying higher. Short-term high. So once this liquidity below those relative equal lows on the daily chart is engaged, we can anticipate what? The market to want to pull back inside the range. We're seeing it do that. What's left up here? Buy side liquidity. There's buy stops. Who would look at this as retail resistance? The average trader that reads a book, watches a few YouTube videos, and they think that everything works on these imaginary support resistance lines. So they're going to trust this and be short, thinking, okay, I can put my stop loss up here. What kind of stop? A buy stop. That protects them. Well, the market quickly runs for those buy stops because the algorithm does not want them to pull their order. Smart money distributes their short position and buys up here and then adds for a long here to ride it up to these buy stops. We have an order block up here, trades above, trades back down into a breaker, low, high, lower low. The highest up close candle is right in here. Take that range on your own chart, extend it forward, returning back into that bullish breaker, trades up into it and hits the order block there. Then we consolidate going into London close. London close is between 10 o'clock in the morning to noon. We get a fair value gap here. Multiple times, this is time distortion, where it just stays inside of a range. It's already priced in the high. Just stays in that range, doesn't work outside that. Look at the bodies. The wicks will go just outside that fair value gap, but that's okay. It's permissible. And then we would expect it to trade lower again, reaching back down into the daily relative equal lows again. Here's that move here. So we have 10 to 11, your fair value gap after hitting the order block. This would be your fill, but you could have multiple opportunities to go short, trading for the New York stop run. So where would that be? That low right here is where stops are. This is the most energetic run prior to New York lunch. New York lunch.
Hola y bienvenido a Trading Forex TV. En la página web de TradingForexSP.com encontrarás los distintos servicios de los canales de señales que tendrás disponibles. Solo debes entrar en el canal deseado y encontrarás en la página web toda la información que necesitas respecto a los canales. Aquí podrás encontrar los pasos, distintas ofertas y preguntas frecuentes que te puedes realizar sobre el servicio. Para apuntarte, solo debes seguir estos 3 pasos. En primer lugar, debes realizar el pago mediante Stripe. Se acepta cualquier tipo de tarjeta de crédito. En segundo lugar, debes registrarte al canal, que es donde se van a pasar los análisis y las señales. Para registrarte, debes utilizar el mismo correo electrónico que has usado en Stripe y tu alias de Telegram, sin usar la arroba ni mayúsculas. Y por último, apúntate a la comunidad, en donde podrás realizar todas las consultas que tengas respecto a los análisis u otras cuestiones. Recuerda colocar tu correo electrónico y tu alias de Telegram sin la arroba y sin mayúsculas. Así que, bienvenidos a los canales de señales de Trading Forex TV.
Is 12 to 1, so you're 12 to 1. Prior to that 12 o'clock, where's the most energetic price move on the outside? Right there. So what is that going to be? That's the target. So the algorithm will run down, create a fair value gap, trade up in here, breaks lower, fair value gap hits it, institutional order flow entry drill, which is a partial entry into a...
Esta está guapa, ¿eh? Esta está muy bien. Porque el primer retroceso a la ineficiencia es este de aquí. Aunque de hecho, yo la mayoría de las veces sigo entrando en los order blocks, ¿eh? Cuando genera estas ineficiencias. Yo sigo entrando en los orders. Sí que es verdad que a veces te las puedes dejar escapar. Pero yo le sigo entrando al order block. En estos casos, ¿eh?
Gap that does not completely fill. Breaks one more time.
Bueno, de hecho, Michael marca toda esta zona, ¿eh? Marca, de hecho, desde el inicio de la ineficiencia hasta no sé qué, hasta el máximo que empieza el movimiento que es ineficiente. De hecho, marca toda la zona.
Gap, order block, 2 consecutive up close candles, trades into it perfectly, drops one more time. That low takes out that low right there. Then it springs back into the range.
Y vuelve a cubrir, esta es el site, parte de la ineficiencia.
That range right there also, if you look closely, is a breaker. The lowest down close candle, high, low, high, extend it forward. There's your range. These 2 consecutive down close candles make up one order block. The order block here is the breaker. Why am I not using?
Interruptor no sé si llama tipo flip zone.
In this one, This candle went lower, ICT. You're using...
¿Alguien que sepa exactamente la definición que le da interruptor? Él. Creo que la clase del interruptor me la perdí. Breaker, vale.
The candles that have the lower body. This is the lower body. Also, this is also occurring right immediately after the high. I would not look at this as a breaker otherwise. For instance, let's just say...
Vale, interruptor es breaker, me dicen por aquí. De hecho, a ver, en plan casual, ¿vale? Pinta cachopo, ¿eh? Pinta cachopo, ¿eh? Yo lo digo. A veces es más fácil, ¿vale? Interruptor, cachopo. Bueno, está muy lejos.
Didn't go as low as the close in this candle. Say it was closing higher than that candle's close. And it was up here. I wouldn't even refer to it as a breaker there. Wouldn't even refer to this at all as a breaker if it did that, but because it did this.
Pero de hecho esta operación es fácil, ¿eh? Solo que hay que estar ahí y hay que estar presente. Pensar que esto es un gráfico me parece de 1 minuto. ¿Vale? Yo sé que muchos operáis en 1 minuto, pero de hecho esta es fácil, ¿eh? De hecho esta es fácil. La ineficiencia que yo me imagino, todo este interruptor que marca, al ser un gráfico de 1 minuto, si os fijáis, estas dos velas, pues seguramente en 5 minutos la ineficiencia sea el conjunto de 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 velas, seguramente. ¿Vale? Entonces, si tú coges el 50% del fair value, pues ya tienes el mismo nivel aproximadamente, ¿no? Yo lo digo porque él va variando de 5 a 1, 5 a 1 minutos, ¿vale? A veces el tema de los gráficos yo creo que es algo que quizá a mí me hubiera gustado que Michael definiera mucho más en qué gráfico basarse, o por lo menos excepciones, o ¿sabes lo que te quiero decir? Porque a veces es muy confuso. Ahora me bajo aquí, me bajo allá. ¿Qué gráfico, digamos, en qué gráfico te mueves, ¿no? Que realmente el gráfico en el que te muevas es el correcto, ¿eh? De hecho. Pero ¿cuál sería el más correcto?
High, low, higher high. Remember, the wicks do the damage. So I'm going to look at that wick and discard it. It's a 1-minute chart. So you can't refine much more beyond that if we're looking for a range for defining a breaker. Okay, so high, low, higher high, 2 down closed candles, extend that forward. We're seeing it trade up into the breaker there and
bueno,
there as well.
De hecho, el tema del interruptor y el breaker, este es clarísimo. Porque si aquí está el swing low, exactamente, el swing low, aquí está el swing, negra, verde, verde, ¿vale? Este es el swing, aquí no hay swing, aquí sí que lo hay. El swing es roto con la ineficiencia. Este es un pedazo de breaker que este sí que se tiene que trabajar. Yo en concreto sí que trabajaría la ineficiencia al 50%, que es más o menos la zona que está Michael.
Reach back one more time below the low prior to New York session lunch, which is noon to 1 o'clock. You thought it only worked in ES and index futures, didn't you? No. Okay. So it runs in here and then back inside the range. All right, E-mini S&P. This is our weekly chart here. You can see we traded down below last week's low and we back inside the range. On the daily chart here, you can see we worked inside that sell-side liquidity pool, as I'll show you in the lower time frames. This rectangle will be much more meaningful to you when we drop in the lower time frames. It's simply the opening range gap. But I want you to take notice of how the bodies of the candles here, the open of this candle here and the open of this candle here is right at that opening range. And again, it'll make much more sense when we go on lower time frames, but we're just trading up inside this inefficiency here. So,
si deseas hacer los mejores cursos de trading, no olvides pasar por nuestro apartado de tienda. Aquí encontrarás nuestros 2 cursos avanzados, curso de trading con Fibonacci y el curso de trading institucional. En cada uno de los cursos encontrarás la explicación de lo que vas a aprender en las próximas clases. Donde aparece el temario del curso, podrás ver un PDF en donde se explica todos los temas y todas las clases que aprenderás. Además, actualmente tenemos campañas en donde el curso te puede salir de forma gratuita si te das de alta con nuestro broker afiliado. Si quieres más información o quieres adquirir este curso, únicamente tienes que añadirlo al carrito y realizar tu registro en la página web. En breve nos pondremos en contacto contigo para darte las instrucciones de cómo puedes empezar tus clases. No te lo pierdas.
It'll be important to see if we reject that overnight going into tomorrow, or if we power through that and completely close it. If we trade above the gap between this candle's high and that candle's low, if we trade above it, I would treat that as a inversion gap, something that's bullish. Right now, I'm looking at it as a potential area just to get short and look for lower prices because we have 1, 2, 3 relative equal lows here. And that sell side is really, really juicy right now. We've already seen this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times go higher. So this to me looks a little too tempting for...
Bueno, de hecho, este Weekly Volume Imbalance Este ya lo viene mareando hace ya bastantes vídeos, ¿eh? Bastantes vídeos.
A run down below that. And yes, it's a lot, but we have a lot of time between
Sí, es
now
buena
at the time
zona
of this
esa que
recording
marca.
and the Friday's close, especially
Está
if we
en
continue to see
diario.
the dollar index rallying higher. All right, here's the hourly chart on any S&P. This was the sell-side liquidity pool I mentioned that we would draw down into if we failed to find any support.
¿Esto qué es? Las 12 p.m. Pero esto es gráfico de una hora. Vale, esto es un día, esto es otro día, otro día, otro día, otro día, vale.
Yeah, we got that as well. Look at the bodies I mentioned that yesterday.
Vale, claro. Buy side, este es el último alto del día anterior. Y esto es un buy side, sí.
Evening. And then yesterday I told you that I'm expecting it to draw up into a closure of the opening range, and you'll see that in a minute, but also up to the buy side right in here. Okay, go watch the video from last night. I've added it to the playlist for the 2023 mentorships. Every time I do a video, if it's a live stream, I have to add them to the mentorship playlist. Like this one here, I'm recording it, pre-recording it, and showing everything that we talked about last night came to pass, and it'll just fall in the ICT mentorship 2023 playlist because I put it there. But a live stream, like you just can't go to my YouTube channel and just look at the last video. You won't see it.
Creo que la mentoría que está diciendo es la que nos falta por ver, la que he dicho que era de 26 minutos y esta es de hora y pico. Pasa que se está enrollando aquí, ¿eh?
Click on the live tab.
Pero bueno, ya va bien, ¿eh? Es como refrescar. ¿Cómo se llamaba el vídeo? Immediate Rebalance and Institutional Order Flow. Bueno, te lo estás comiendo todo, lo está explicando todo. Esto, lo uno, lo otro, lo otro, lo otro, lo otro, lo otro, ¿vale? Yo creo que es casi una recopilación de conceptos. Que ya va bien, ¿eh? Porque, por ejemplo, el tema de interruptor, porque me lo han chivado, ¿eh? Pero no me acordaba yo que era el breaker.
Mentorship 2023 playlist. So as I do them, as I create them, they go right into that playlist. So if you want to bookmark that playlist, you'll have all the videos I'm producing this year that are mentorship grade. All right, so here's Tuesday and Wednesday's opening range gap, and you probably remember that yesterday. And I'd like to keep opening range gaps on my chart for 3 days. Okay? So that's one of those opportunities if you're not paying attention and just let me say it and you don't write it down. It's one of those gems.
El walk, si recordáis, es un poquito que él habla como un imán del precio, que va alrededor. Ya dijo que no lo tenía muy claro, que medio estaba trabajando en ello, que luego cuando el precio pasaba por encima del NWalk, pues que podía hacer de soporte o podía hacer luego de resistencia, que que son ideas, que que quizá pueda ser esto, ¿vale? Va un poquito por ahí.
Simply will not make it in your understanding, but after 3 days it expires in my mind, okay? And it's all part of my Power 3 concept, which I'll teach you more about later. It's not just simply the open, high, low, and close, or the accumulation, manipulation, distribution. It's not just that. It's much more than AMD. Tuesday, Wednesday, opening range gap is shaded here. That's what we're seeing in the daily chart.
¿Qué ha dicho de la AMD?
More about later. It's not just simply the open, high, low, and close, or the accumulation, manipulation, distribution. It's not just that. It's much more than AMD. Tuesday, Wednesday, opening range gap is shaded here. That's what we're seeing on the daily chart. Notice that from Tuesday crossing over to Wednesday's opening range gap, it was still being respected on Thursday. Look at that. Look at the respect of it here. Look at this candle's high. Look at the bodies in here. See that? So there's a whole lot more going on.
Los bodies están dentro del NWalk. Se hace un poquito pajas, ¿no? Yo, hasta que no me tenga a mí algo que me diga, oye, esto se trabaja así, de momento se va haciendo pajillas con los NWalk, ¿eh?
Behind the scenes, there's algorithmic that unless you know about it, you're completely oblivious to it. The average trader, the average person that understands gaps, they don't think about the market like this. And that's what separates me from everybody else. If you want to be an apex predator, you have to hunt differently. You have to be the first one to take the prey. You can't wait around. This is not the second mouse gets the cheese. Okay? We're not mice. We're lions. We're going out and we're taking it. So
somos leones. ¿Qué somos? ¿Gacelas o leones? ¿Gacelas o leones? Somos leones, Michael. Leones.
I told you we would reach out for it yesterday, right up above here, and that we would trade up into the high end of that gap. Okay. Yesterday we were talking, it was right about in here. And then we opened up here, traded down at 6 o'clock, and then we meandered around and then found our way up to it and above it, fell short of the buy side liquidity here. So the objective is what? Still run no stops. So it comes all the way back down to the low of that opening range gap from Tuesday and Wednesday.
De hecho, yo es lo que haría si ha cogido el buy side del día anterior, del fractal, no del alto, del fractal, del último fractal del día anterior. Pues vemos aquí como hay un buen rechazo. De hecho, genera este imbalance. Raro que Claro, no, porque no rompe la estructura. Vale, me
If
callo.
this is the first time you watch the video, what am I saying a Tuesday to Wednesday
Abshalom,
opening range gap
vale,
is? Where do I get the
somos los
definition from,
lobos
right?
de Wall Street.
You have to change your chart.
¿No habéis visto la película? Hombre, sí, la de Pain and Gain, la de Poder y Dinero, no, la de, sí, Poder y Dinero, ¿no? La de los culturistas. La que sale Mark Wahlberg con Dwayne Johnson, La Roca, y sale el otro que salía en Los Vengadores. Que sale el tío, está en una conferencia de estas motivacionales, que sale el chino de resacón en Las Vegas, joder, y que dice, dice, ¿tú eres hacedor o no hacedor? No te oigo, guaperas. ¿Hacedor o no hacedor? Hacedor, soy hacedor. ¿Qué somos? ¿Hacedores o no hacedores? Muy buena peli, ¿eh? Yo cada vez que la veo me descojono. Hace tiempo que no la veo, la volveré a ver. Pero es buenísima. Está basada en hechos reales. El Hugo, no sé qué, que es el protagonista, era brasileño. Bueno, es que me gusta mucho el cine.
To regular trading hours, not electronic trading hours. And you'll see the separation between the settlement price and the opening price on the new day. So this is what happened on Tuesday, and we have one here also. Okay, so I'm going to add this one. I'm going to change this one to a different color. It'll still be on the chart because it's very important to understand what's about to happen here.
A ver, venga, Michael.
It's shaded in gray, so it's there like a ghost behind the scenes. No pun intended. The ghost in the machine. So we have the opening range gap for Wednesday, Thursday now, which is this now broader range. So there's an overlapping of those two opening range gaps. I promise you, you will never see that in books anywhere. Now, there's going to be people out there that hurry up and run out there and print their books on Amazon and talk about this because I've said it today. But this is the first time I've ever taught this. Even my charter members don't know this.
Quieto. Bueno, parece que se va a explicar el misterio del Enwok. Incluso mis miembros fundadores no lo saben. Así que hoy, 25 de mayo, venga, gente. ¿Qué? Minuto 34:00. Seguro que el hijo de su madre, seguro que ha elegido. Dije, lo voy a decir en el minuto 34:00 y lo terminaré de decir en el 34:30. Y ya no volveré a hablar de ello hasta dentro de 10 vídeos soporíferos. Porque Michael es así. Bueno, gente, despertar, por favor. Tomaros el café, despertar, porque ahora viene el secreto de Michael. La parte buena del vídeo. Se ha pegado 34 minutos el tío explicando para arriba, para abajo, lo otro, aquello. Vamos allá, un momentito, sorbo el café. Y sorbo el agua, un momento, que ahora viene la parte buena. Vale, ahora sí, vamos allá.
2023, I'm teaching you something that I've never given to the public before. So I want you to appreciate this. If you run around on your YouTube channel and create these mentorships of your own, okay, and you pretend that you knew this beforehand or you've always been doing it, you're going to look a little foolish now. So after we get this opening range gap.
Vale, voy a subir el volumen, gente.
Here, the old one, Tuesday, Wednesday, we open above it, trade down, and find support at the lows of it. You see that? But it didn't fill this. Why? Why didn't it fill that? Because it has unfinished business. Where's that unfinished business?
Tiene asuntos pendientes.
The buy stops up here. Ran up there, hit it. Now we have a gap. Just like we were treating yesterday's Tuesday, Wednesday opening gap, we had some portion still to fill in. Now we can look for this area here to potentially have a event fill it in tomorrow or reprice to it. And that's my expectation going forward. I probably am wrong, okay? So don't put too much weight or emphasis on it, but that's how I look at it. We're going into a...
Serás cabrón, pero se ha dicho, me vas a decir el secreto y ahora me dice, no le pongas mucho énfasis, no me hagas mucho caso. Así es como lo veo.
Holiday weekend, anything can happen. So
Cualquier puede... Venga, Michael, me estás haciendo la 13-14, me estás haciendo la cobra, tío. Yo venía aquí ya dispuesto a aprender algo nuevo y realmente escandaloso.
I'm really not even doing a video tomorrow. I'm not going to be looking at the market tomorrow.
No voy a mirar el mercado mañana.
Vamos a hacer algo. So I care less what the market does. But if you're going to hold a gun to my head and say, ICT, tell me right now what you think, I think that we're going to try to make an attempt to get down here.
Tratar hacer un intento de bajar aquí y trabajar esta área aquí.
That's what I think.
Eso es lo
okay,
que
if I'm wrong,
está bien.
it would need to go back above current week opening gap high for me to be bullish again. There you go. So now we have both of those gaps.
¿En serio, Michael? Te has mojado muy poco, ¿eh? Te has mojado muy poco.
We have Tuesday, Wednesday opening range gap, and we have the Wednesday, Thursday opening range gap. And we're back down here on electronic trading hours. So you can see there's relative equal highs. I said there was buy side last night, go watch the video. That's where I think it's going to draw to and get to the top of that old Tuesday, Wednesday, opening range gap. Well,
Minuto 36. Mirad lo que os he dicho, que ha dicho del minuto 34 al 36, te ha dicho, atención, que te voy a decir algo que es la hostia, que si me lo vas a copiar vas a quedar como un tonto, tal, ¡pum! Te lo suelta, puede que sí, puede que no, pero no me hagas mucho caso. Y 2 minutos, lo que os he dicho, en 2 minutos lo ha soltado y el resto del vídeo va a estar hablando, ya lo verás. Lo ha camuflado, ¿eh?
we did that here. Then we fell short. Notice what we did? We went above the range high there, but we didn't get to the buy side yet. Then it dropped all the way down to the low of that gap. See it? Followed along. You still see it in here, and then boom, it's gathering all kinds of new orders, but not by itself. Look closer. What is this? It's a fair value gap at the lows. So smart money is accumulating right in here. Market rallies up, comes back down, one more tap, and then takes off, trades into a buy side imbalance, sell side efficiency, which is a fair value gap, and order block right there. Where's the target? The buy side I told you last night. Wham! Hits it beautifully. Does it continuously keep going higher? No. It rejects it, comes back down into the range, buy side, rallies one more time, pumps in, and then fails once more. So I'm watching to see if this potential phantom trend line here breaks, and if it does, we'll be looking for the sell side here, below here, and into the gap that would be otherwise expected to normally fill. But again, it's a holiday weekend. Anything can happen, folks. The volume will be different than it normally is. There's a lot of people that simply are going to go away. They're not going to be trading. They're not going to be doing anything. So bear that in mind tomorrow. All right, so now we're on that 5-minute chart, and we're bringing in the new day opening gap. Good grief, ICT. How many gaps are you going to talk about? All the ones that matter. Okay, so the new day opening gap, and I taught this on the YouTube channel, so take a look at that. You'll find it in the video playlists for the 2023 mentorship.
Últimamente
New day
está con
opening
los
gap,
gaps,
NDOG,
tío.
NDOG. So we have the
Que no
closing
caga,
price at 5 o'clock, and then we have the opening price at 6
Bueno.
o'clock. So that hour separation is what we're showing.
Gente, minuto 38 es un pedazo de vídeo de 1.25. Lo vamos a dejar aquí. Yo creo que... Y eso que lo he pasado a 1,5, ¿eh? Lo he pasado a 1,5. De momento va el like y guardar. Ver más tarde. ¿Vale? Me lo guardo en la lista de ver más tarde para mañana continuar viéndolo. Gente, poquito más que decir. Vídeo de Michael, de Inner Circle Trader, repasando mogollón de conceptos, cosa que siempre se aprende. Y como yo digo, se aprende del auténtico, ¿no? Del que inventó esto. Así que mejor que aprender de la mano de Michael, creo que pocas. Muy buenas, profe. ¿Cuál es su canal de entradas swing? Trading Arica. Mi canal de entradas swing. No tengo un canal de entradas swing. Son entradas... Bueno, puede ser de todo. Desde que te dura una hora, días, semanas, pero normalmente en el gratuito suelo pasar más de largo plazo, más swing trading, eso sí. Son análisis técnicos más a largo plazo. Ajá, no sé cómo se llama el canal que analiza a largo plazo. ¿Pero quién? ¿Yo o Michael? Yo a largo plazo, TradingForex TV, allí... Vale, TradingForex TV. Ah, que no estás suscrita. No estás suscrita o suscrito, no sé. Vaya, vaya, vaya. Venga, tira para ahí a suscribirte, hombre. Ponte a darle likes. Venga. ¡Sí! Bueno, gente, poquito más que decir. Vídeo de Michael. Mañana vamos a continuar. Me apetece ver el vídeo entero. Creo que puede guardarnos algún secreto más. Al final nos ha dejado igual con el tema de los New Gap Opening Week y todos los gaps estos que está viendo últimamente. Últimamente está un poquito ahí, a ver si atina, a ver si acierta, a ver si... Yo pensaba, en un momento cuando he hecho el height al minuto 34 he dicho, hasta aquí nos lo confiesa, aquí nos lo dice, aquí nos dice ya por fin qué cojones significa esto de los end walk y qué es lo que está viendo con los gaps. Pues no. No, está hablando de llenar gaps, tampoco es nada que nos haya dicho hace 1000 años. Gente, espero que os haya gustado el vídeo, mañana seguimos con más, a menos que me paséis, si queréis me los podéis pasar al correo electrónico o por privado, tradingforexsp@gmail.com. Si queréis que veamos a un canal interesante, por favor no me paséis canales, copias de tal, que los descartaré. Canales interesantes, o por lo menos como algunos de los canales que hemos ido viendo, que explica los vídeos de Michael, que duran una hora, te lo explican 5-8 minutos y te queda clarísimo. Pues así, canales así que yo no conozco, no hayamos visto, pues también pasármelos, por favor. Así que chicos, feliz trading a todos, besitos. ¡Mua! Chao, chao.